Hey guys, so I wanted to just give you a brief understanding of the lesson that you were to go through today. So a couple of things that you needed to understand for circumference of circles was the vocabulary that was given in the first couple of slides. So when you have a circle, if you look at a point from the center to the side of the circle, we call that the radius. Okay, and a radius can be from any point from the center to any side, and they will all be equal. Okay, so if this radius was equal to 5, then this radius would also be equal to 5, as well as any other radius that I draw in my circle. They would all be equal to 5. Okay, so the other vocabulary word you learned was diameter. Okay, and diameter goes from one side of a circle through the center and goes to the other side of the circle. So the diameter is one full straight line through the center from one side of the circle to the other. So the special relationship about a radius and a diameter is that a diameter is consisting of two radiuses. If you look here, here's one radius, and then here's the other. So a diameter is it's equal to two radiuses. We call that radii in math if you want to be fancy. Okay, so if I wanted to figure out this particular circle's diameter, it would be 5 plus 5, which is 10, because that is two of our radiuses, and that would be our diameter. So this understanding you had to grasp before moving on to figuring out the circumference of circles. So there were a couple of practice problems in the lesson just going over radius and diameter. So I'll give you one more example before I erase and move on. Here's our circle. If this was 3, which is our radius, because again it's only going from the center to the side, our radius is 3, then that means that our diameter, which would be from one side of the circle through the center to the other side, our diameter would be twice that, which would give us 6. Okay, because if I took this radius, made another radius, 3 plus 3 is 6. If I had a circle where instead of the radius being given, let's say a diameter was given instead from one end of the circle through the center to the other end. Let's say our diameter this time was 7, right? If our diameter is 7, then what could I do to figure out my radius? Well, if the diameter is 7, then I know that my radius is going to be half of that amount because it's only from the center to the side. So this section here is a radius and this section here is a radius. So I would do 7 divided by 2. And 7 divided by 2 will give us 3.5. So our radius would be 3.5. Okay, so that's just the general understanding of looking at a circle. Now I'm just going to get into the meat and potatoes of the lesson that you guys were supposed to explore today. So for circumference, there are two formulas you can use. C equals pi times diameter, and then also C equals 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, so we are given two formulas for circumference depending on the information we are given about the circle. Sometimes we're given a diameter, sometimes we're given a radius, so we have a choice of which formula we can use to determine that circumference. Now, if you remember, pi is a very special number because it never terminates and it never repeats. That's why we call it irrational. If you remember, we did that in the beginning of the school year when we were talking about numbers. That's because this number goes on and on and on forever, never terminates, never repeats, doesn't have any kind of pattern. that we could predict, the next number. So when we are finding these circumferences, our answers will be non-terminating decimals. So you have to be very careful to read and see what they want you to round your answers to. Okay? So I'll give you an example. If we were told that a circle has a radius of 4, well, now I know that I'm going to have to use, since it's giving us a radius, I'm going to use the formula that has radius already in it. So I'm going to rewrite my formula. C equals 2 times pi times r, and I'm going to plug in 4 where I see r. So I'm going to do C equals 2 times pi times 4. And I could do a quick mental math. I know that 2 times 4 is 8, so I'm just going to write this as 8 pi, which some of you were getting. But then you have to use what we call a pi calculator. So I have one from school, if you guys remember using these, right? But I uploaded a link that allows you to have a pi key on your calculator. So if you go to the stream, you'll be able to access that now, and you should use that moving forward so that you get these irrational numbers that we're talking about. So in my calculator, I'm going to put, let me clear that out, 8 times pi. And you would do the same on the website that I sent out. Press enter, and we would get this irrational number of 25 points. I'm just going to move it up a little bit. 25.13274, 13274, ... Like it goes on forever, right? So then we would have to be told a given value to round to, because this number, like I said, doesn't terminate, doesn't repeat, so we'd have to round it to a given place value. So if I rounded to the nearest tenth, I would make it 25 point. I would look at my tenths place, it's a 1. 3 will keep that 1 there, so my final answer would be 25.1. Normally they would give you like some sort of unit, so maybe this would be like 25.1 inches. Okay, it's whatever unit is provided with the question. Now, just to give you a better conceptual understanding of what you're actually calculating, the circumference is basically the perimeter of a circle. So it's not the space outside of the circle, it's only the distance around the circle. So if you were looking at like a circular shaped park, and let's say you wanted to put up a fence around it, it doesn't matter what's inside the circle, you're just measuring the distance around the circle. Okay, so I'll give you one more example, and then I think you guys should be good to go. So if we had a circle has a diameter of 12 feet, find the circumference. Now that we're given a diameter, I'm going to use this formula because that one has diameter already in it. So again, I'm going to write my formula. C equals pi times d. So that equals pi times 12. And I go to my calculator. So I'm going to put 12 times pi. And we get, oh, this is a good answer to discuss. So we get C equals 37 point, let me move this up again, I always run out of room, 69911, blah, 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 right? Okay. So if they asked us to round again, we would say, let's round to, I don't know, 10th place again, right? So C equals 37 point, I look in my 10th place, that's the first digit after the decimal. The number next to it tells us what we do to that number. So since it's 5 or more, since it's a 9, we bounce this number up by 1. So we make it 37.7, and I'm going to use my units, feet. Okay? For circumference, we keep the units the same. If it was area, we would raise that unit to the second power. But we'll get into that tomorrow. Okay? So I hope this helped you out a little bit. I hope it's a little bit clearer. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Stay safe.